Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Council on Future Conflicts. This is episode 549. We're talking the Ukraine War Day 1258 and information warfare. Remember when it used to be like that? Like the title of our show daily was just the day number on the Ukraine war, and it was in the this war's been going on forever. And this is day 250. But now look, we're at 1,258. So a lot of war going on. So we'll dive into this. Watcher, we may need a map segment. I don't have a map link in the show notes, but I bet we can find one.
Because I think I created some new show fans yesterday, and I told them specifically that we mispronounce Ukrainian place names. So
on the regular, yes, absolutely. Yes. Joe, how you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good. I got to see our friend Old Hong Kong yesterday, which is always good. But he introduced me to some guys who have been really integral to the defense of Ukraine. And I was rude. At the very first meeting, the guy started talking. He goes, so we have facilities, and he lists all these places, and he mentioned Ukraine, and he kept talking. And I said, I'm sorry. I stopped listening when you said Ukraine. And of course, everyone laughed, but this guy looked at me like I was a little bit crazy. But if you're watching, we really do like what you do, and we appreciate you. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. There are people out there who, who, for whatever reason, have a legitimate, full-throated support of Ukraine. And sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's ideological, sometimes it's moral, whatever. And let's be honest, not everybody is a like a NAFO bro, somebody who's just willingly, drinking the Kool-Aid. They honestly think, oh, well, this is the right war to fight. And, I disagree with that, but I respect it. And, I would try not to denigrate anybody who does that. But that being said, I would definitely denigrate some of the actions of the government of Ukraine.
Yeah, this guy actually, in the line of work he's in, it's actually a good thing. And they're doing some good work there and in other places in the world. So can't really go into more than that, but solid dude. Glad to have met him. So.
Watcher, how you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good. Things are moving along. Chad, I wish I could say more. I'll tell you more about it when I can, but I have to build websites and stuff first before people snipe things out from under me. So
yeah, I know the feeling. Before we jump into, can I give the good news story of the morning? I think.
Yeah, sure.
I just dropped a link here in the private chat. I don't know if you guys heard about this story, but
I did.
Are you guys aware that the Doge guy known as Big Balls became a unintentional hero? Maybe intentional, but
no. If you read the story, highly intentional.
He found himself in a position, and he did what we should all do, and that is, try to help somebody out. And it didn't end well for him. I mean, he got a concussion, and you can see from this picture here, he got battered pretty heavily. But he basically saved a woman from an assault by 8 attackers, and these are supposedly Utes, urban Utes.
Assault and carjacking.
Yeah.
All he did was that he indeed has very large balls. So.
Well, I tell you, this is the kind of, this is the kind of thing that I want, for our young men, to be willing to basically, go in the fire.
That should be obvious.
Oh yeah, this is when the Jesse Waters clip where where he meets Big Balls.
Username.
Okay.
Well, people on LinkedIn take themselves super seriously, and they're pretty adverse to risk. And I was like, well, I want to be neither of those things. So I said it, and honestly, I didn't even think anyone would notice.
I mean, you got to love the guys, just his spunk. So I mean, fuck, man.
So
That's
as far as I've read, the situation was he was out with a woman he was courting, and they were near their vehicle, and he saw 10 youths rolling up on him in an aggressive manner, and so shoved her into the car and had her lock it.
So this is Elon's X post, but I want it because he's posting the Donald Trump. I love how everybody tries to make it out like Elon and Trump hate each other. No, they have a disagreement, but they still see eye to eye on most things, and I think this is one of those. And so this is Donald Trump's response to this. Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, and 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, and maiming and shooting innocent civilians at the same time, knowing that they will be almost immediately released. They are not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them. But it's going to happen now. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock them up for a very long time, starting at the age of 14. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. So he's referring to Big Balls here. Let's see. Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and most importantly, for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run the city how it should be done.
Objection. The federal government already has control of Washington.
I know, but I think what they're saying is take away the delegated powers to the, to the city of the federally run city government.
I have something to say, but it requires a little visual presentation. Youths could be here, he thought to himself. I hate youths.
So anyway, I think I think this is both a good example and a bad situation. We've said it before in the past, get out of cities. I'm just saying, I wouldn't recommend anybody that I know in my family or otherwise to be living in the city.
Even if you got big balls.
Well, I mean, you have to have big balls to live in the city, but if you don't, you might find yourself in trouble very quickly.
Yeah. And the conversation going on in the chat about federalizing the Washington, D.C. police, that you literally can't federalize them any more than they already are. They're a federal law enforcement agency. So
I heard somebody do an interview on this, and it was on X, and I just saw the clip, but they basically made that point, right? Essentially, you would take the local DC police and you would just make them part of the Capitol Police, and then you would essentially eliminate
a horrible slippery slope. We do not want.
Right, but I'm just saying this is
with Barack Obama, and as an attempt, he attempted to make the Federal Protective Service a national law enforcement agency, and we need to not ever encourage that. I don't care how bad crime is in DC. It needs to be responsible to a local council, not the federal government. Because once you lose control of law enforcement, you lose control of everything at the local level, right? We do not want to cheer on federalizing law enforcement agencies. All right, gents, I have to go. I have to go to Sword Mountain Outfitters, our new friends there, and do a land navigation class. So I will see you all on Friday.
You will be missed, Joe. I hope everything goes well. I mean, you got a tough job there. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, walking through some of the most gorgeous country in the state, in the country, and I saw lots of elk sign yesterday, but no elks. So maybe today.
Ooh.
Maybe today.
Yeah. So. All right, brother. You take care.
All right. See you guys.
Yep. All right, Watcher. Now we just the two of us. So you gotta have you can't just be the guy clicking. You gotta give me something to work off of here. So just bear with me
if we try.
All right. Let's jump into odds and ends. I get the feeling we might have a shorter show today. You know, with two people, there's always less jaw japping.
It's true.
And by the way, I've seen you. I've watched a couple of you and Joe's episodes where I wasn't there, and you guys like to give me a hard time about saying like, because Scott wasn't here. No. You guys more than filled in the gaps. So
I think that's more just something to say these days.
Lance Corporal Veteran for $2 on YouTube says, "Been to DC. U.S. Marines are armed on the street." You know, I wonder if you were to basically put, here's how I think you fix DC. It's not federalizing like the law enforcement or anything. I mean, not the way he means, but
Right.
I think what it is that you essentially shrink the size of DC to basically a block on either side, a block past the White House,
My idea.
and then down to Capitol Hill. So basically that kind of like federal area, where and the mall and
send everything else back to the original state.
To Maryland, which is
well, Maryland, and then in some spots Virginia.
I don't think DC encroaches onto the Virginia side of the river anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Like the Pentagon is in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think
I got to do this real quick. Rick, I'm sorry, but when you pick a business name that you're like pretty sure somebody has to have picked this, and then it turns out not only has nobody picked this, but the actual .com, like just flat out the mybusinessname.com is available for less than 99 cents. No, I'm not telling anybody until I get all that locked down, man.
Yeah, I know the feeling there. Yeah, make two Marines on their own, of course, could throw a good natured shade there. I mean, depends on how many beers they've had. All right. All right. Let's look at the first story of the day. A little trip down Lula's way down in Brazil. Brazil's Lula is defiant. "I will not call Trump. I am not afraid." Yeah. Well, I mean, that's big words, right? President Trump has sent a message to President Lula that saying that Brazilian leader could call him anytime to discuss the trade dispute centered on the country's treatment of ex-leader Jair Bolsonaro. Yeah.
Jair.
No, I was Jair. That's right. I was trying to remember how it's not like it looks, but Lula has defiantly responded Tuesday with a statement, "I will not call Trump because he does not want to talk." He further asserted that nobody gives him lessons in negotiations. Well, maybe you need some. Speaking during an event held in Brasilia, he made clear, "I don't want people to think that I'm afraid of Donald Trump." See, that is the truth. He doesn't want people to think that he is afraid of Donald Trump, despite the fact that he is afraid of Donald Trump. And that the U.S. president is and the U.S. president has no right to announce tariffs on Brazil the way he did. Really?
Actually, in point of fact,
he does.
Yeah, he does. Secondly, the fuck you gonna do about
it? Absolutely zero. Additional vehement complaints about the U.S. position. By the way, this is the reason why he's shitting his pants. At the moment, a record-setting 50% tariff has been in effect. Effect for many Brazilian goods entering the U.S. Are as follows via Bloomberg. U.S. attacks on instant payment system PIX are unjustified. We cannot be penalized for developing a free and efficient system. Yeah, well, I mean, sure we can. The allegations about the PIX payment system, regulation of digital platforms, and deforestation are unreasonable. PIX is a national heritage and an international reference for public digital infrastructure. I would like President Trump to try out PIX in the U.S. All right. Well, that's not going to happen. Brazil never left the negotiating table. Political and electoral interests cannot contaminate commercial relations. They can if he says they will. Critical minerals belong to Brazil and will not be explored by other nations. Okay, well, whatever. The Trump administration is demanding the charges against Bolsonaro stemming from his reelection of the rejection of the election results, which brought Lula back to power, be dropped. Well, I mean, Lula did cheat in that election. So, however, the government has emphasized the independence of the judiciary. Okay. A week ago, the U.S. slapped sanctions on the Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes. So that's the guy who looks like what, like Bela Lugosi if he were a bald man. It's like he's like the Dracula judge or something. But regional and analyst Bruna Santos of the Inter-American Dialogue in Washington, D.C. has explained that dropping the charges against Bolsonaro is simply not going to happen.
Yes. He's willing to bankrupt his country utterly. Everyone in his country, as well as himself, bankrupt in order to pursue charges against a political enemy who simply wouldn't kowtow.
I mean, well said, Broccoli.
Let me tell you, I think this is about as likely as Snowball's chance in hell.
Well, this is another, I don't know, maybe low IQ individual here running screen for Lula. The ask for Lula is undoable, he was quoted in the Associated Press saying. In the long run, you are leaving a scar on the relationship between the two largest democracies in the hemisphere. Yeah, you got a communist as your president. You're not a fucking democracy. And the way you guys are censoring free speech in that country, forget about it. As of Monday, Bolsonaro has been ordered under house arrest, with the federal top court citing violations related to stoking resentment via social media and public messaging. For now, at least, it looks like the government is backing down despite the damage to trade relations and future economic pain.
I'll tell you what. Needs to go on that 50% tariff list. And a lot of people will be mad at me for saying this. They may not realize they're mad at me for saying this, but they will be when they go to the grocery store if this were to happen. But Brazilian beef should absolutely go on that list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. Now, here's the thing, right? I think my understanding is there is a legitimate supply issue in the American beef market right now, and there was some artificiality around it.
British beef, well, because of the Brazilian beef market, which undercuts every the American beef manufacturers. It's insane. And because of that, the couple of large like here's the. You're right in that the problem you're probably talking about is the one that people are talking about right now, but it's the same problem. It was caused by the same thing. Right now, all of like Tyson and a couple of others have the complete lock, stock, and barrel on all of the processors, which means even for small guys, you can't, like, there's nowhere to get animals in it. You can't get them done. But again, that's because when we brought in all this Brazilian beef and it killed off like 60% of our beef manufacturers, the demand for those processors went down and processors closed, except for the ones that could maintain the giant businesses.
Well, what I was going to say is that I think the way to go with something like this might be something along the lines of, if let's say they're being undercut by 30% by Brazilian beef, like, pound for pound or whatever, then you basically add 30% plus a 20% on top of it. And the 20% on top would basically be your punishment fee beyond to keep the trade in balance, right? So if you did everything right, then you would still get the 30% on beef because you're undercutting our beef producers. But then,
And he should announce it by saying,
I don't know what they undercut the American beef producers by. So
I could find out, but it's a pretty healthy amount. But he should definitely announce it by saying, "Listen, I'm announcing that we have a beef with the beef."
Okay, that was not the. You could have done better, Roger.
I could have. I probably could have.
All right. Put those tariffs in. Diatica says, put those tariffs in, and you have a chance to reverse it. And as it scales back up, it will lower costs. Right, exactly right. It'll as the scale of U.S. beef starts to kind of go back up, you lower the overall cost for U.S. beef. And then, U.S. beef will always, in a pound per pound market, there will always be more, assuming that you can kind of adjust for inputs, you're always going to be cheaper for U.S. beef because you don't have to transport it. You don't have to go through, any kind of customs checks or anything like that. So. All right. Anything else on Brazil you want to talk about? What's it?
Gentlemen, we cannot allow a beefsteak gap. Yeah, it is just kind of a weird note, but I don't know how Brazil seems like it's pretty far down the scale, and I'm not sure how they come back from where they're at, because it doesn't seem like you can't generally unelect a leader like Lula.
Well, I mean, South Korea's in the same boat. I mean, they've got a guy like a Lula-like guy who is, except for whereas Lula's more of a communist, this guy's more of a criminal. And he's got essentially he just got put into office, so he's basically got 5 years ahead of him, and so it's kind of like, what are you going to do? You can't. Unless you impeach him or something like that.
Yeah, crazy times ahead, folks. We keep hearing about it too, by the way, because we have people that are down there that continue to send us kind of the best info on that. So yeah, prayers for Brazil, but I think there's going to have to be a large mass throwing off of these little communist dictatorships that have sprung up over the last decade, and it probably won't be very soon.
Just remember, Diatica, all communists are criminals.
Yeah, I was going to say one and the same.
Well, not all criminals are communists, but all communists are criminals. No, so I will say that this guy has very heavy Marxist leanings.
Yeah.
Pro China, pro like labor union, and labor unions over here are way more radical than the ones in America. So,
yeah, they're like the ones that America used to be.
All right, moving on. Arson attack hits ICE field office in Washington State amidst dangerous rhetoric from Democrats. Here's another terrorist attack. I've been saying there's a terrorist attack every week in America now. And here you go. Over the weekend, a federal building housing an ICE field office in Yakima, Washington was firebombed. Yet another violent flashpoint amid the Democratic Party's unrelenting and dangerous anti-ICE rhetoric. Assaults on ICE agents have skyrocketed by 830% as Democrats and their dark money billionaire-funded NGO network shield criminal illegal aliens from deportations. Homeland Security provided color on what exactly happened. So this is the Homeland Security announcement. On Saturday, a cowardly rioter threw a rock through a window there we go, of a building that ICE has a sub-office in. Additionally, a small fire was set at the back of the building. Local authorities are investigating this as an act of arson. There have been no injuries reported at this time. The investigation is ongoing. It's unclear if the brave ICE law enforcement officers were the target of these acts. From comparisons to the modern-day Nazi Gestapo to glorifying rioters, the violent rhetoric of sanctuary politicians is beyond the pale. Now, see, this is kind of going above and beyond for the communication staff of Homeland Security to put this out, because this basically gives it the correct context for what they're doing. Violent rhetoric of sanctuary politicians is beyond the pale, i.e. Marxists. Our ICE law enforcement is now facing a 830% increase in assault against them. Secretary Noem has been clear: anyone who seeks to hurt law enforcement will be found and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And there's some pictures if you want to scroll through the pictures there.
Yeah, I was showing the pictures. There's
Okay.
apparently a video here, but I don't think it's of the incident.
No, this is just about how ICE is being. Yeah, you can play the sound.
Is scooping folks up off the streets.
A little bit of information warfare.
Like behavior.
Not just fear, Jen, but actual terror.
They are coming and kidnapping and disappearing people, and it is absolutely terrorizing people.
Assaults on ICE agents are up, get this, 690%.
A man in New York threatened to kill an ICE agent and his children, and it underscores, Bill, why agents cover their faces. Activists will run their photo, they'll run it through these reverse image search engines, locate them on Facebook and Instagram, getting their name and address, making them very easy targets, and why they oppose that Democratic bill that would ban face coverings.
PSJ's Helicopter Tours over in Rumble for $1 says, socialism is the vehicle, global communism is the destination. So here's, a lot of people have been saying things like, it's X person is a communist or X person is a. So here's the thing to remember, right? We have basically, if you assume that communism is the idea where, the kind of idealized utopian system where the state controls the means of production and basically personal property is eliminated. If that's kind of communism, no communist country has ever done that. And here's the other part of communism that most of them don't realize is that communism was never designed to be it was never designed to be authoritarian but you can't do communism without authoritarianism, right? Because you can't seize the means of production without, so it's kind of a catch-22, right? So what you end up having to do is so once you decide, okay, we have to be authoritarians, right? In order to get this communism thing that we all love to happen, they become authoritarians and they stop being real communists, right? Because authoritarian systems always have a hierarchy. And the people at the top have access to everything, and the people at the bottom have access essentially to nothing. And that is communism. And it ultimately it turns into something more akin to what you would probably call fascism, but it doesn't have the National Socialist aspects that fascism has. But if you look at China today, China is probably the closest country conceived in the modern era to Nazi Germany. And Russia is pretty close to that model as well, though there is this kind of quasi-monarchic kind of, situation going on there. We'll see where he goes with his succession planning, but he's basically put himself in as a, dictator for life. Hunch the Dirty Roofer for $2 says it's Marines. It's 2 Marines, 1 crown, isn't it, Watcher? Oh, geez. Is that yeah, that's a Hunch. I swear, Hunch. By the way, APD 642 says, how's Costa doing? He is doing well. He is in our group chat and he comments on American stuff as much as he does Brazilian stuff. So I'm sure he will appreciate you guys asking about him. Let's see. Let me go on. So we've got. Anyway, the story goes on to just kind of show some of the recent attacks against federal officers, whether it's Border Patrol or it's ICE agents or whatever. So this is definitely a pattern of what we've seen here lately. We were talking about the Antifa activities in Portland at the ICE detention facility there. This is, and, like I said, we've got the weekly terror incidents, and almost all of them recently have been related to ICE at one level or another. Watcher, I want to give you a chance to weigh in here.
How long are we into the Trump administration and Antifa has still not been designated a domestic terrorist organization?
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, the problem with that. So when you have a decentralized organization, that gets harder to do. Now you can say, "Oh, Antifa," right? But then
No, it's
that
not when they themselves are pledging allegiance to these things. Look, man, you apply the same type of network breaking tools that we've applied to terrorist organizations all over the world, you'll absolutely see the same connections pop up.
Well, here's the problem, right? The only problem, I don't disagree with you, but the only problem is the Antifa guys in America are protected by the Constitution as long as they're American citizens.
Not if they're conducting terrorist activity or communicating with foreign actors in the pursuit of this terrorist activity. Or there are so many ways to pierce that veil.
But the problem there is that the reason why it's easy to pierce that veil is because of all the unconstitutional things that we've come up with.
Well, no, then. Scott.
Now, no. Let me finish my
okay.
Watcher, let me finish my thought.
Okay,
let me finish my thought here. The problem is we want the government not to do what we think is right, to kick in the doors on the people we don't like. We want the government always to act constitutional across the board. And so if you're an American citizen doing something, right, it's going to be harder. It's just going to be harder to get that person than if you're, say, a Hamas terrorist or something like that, because they have to go through extra steps. And they can't use the military and the CIA and assets that you would use against foreign terrorist organizations against domestic terror. Now, it's not to say that you can't develop tools. They just have to be different tools and different methods of using them.
I disagree entirely.
And let me go where I think is the answer. The answer is what we did against the mafia. For instance, the mafia is not a centralized organization. It's a decentralized organization of crime families, right? Like, you got the 5 families in New York, and then you've got the other families spread throughout. I think if you treat Antifa like that, like every local Antifa cell is an individual organization, and then you just go after them like that, and you essentially do RICO against them, and then you'll get a lot more under that. But they're so stupid, though, and you know this. I mean, you've been following this the way I have. These people are not sophisticated the way the mafia is, and they are doing some really dumb stuff, and it would be really easy to put them away. You just have to pull the trigger on the RICO piece, and let's be honest, RICO is complex, so it would take some time to do this. But
no, the other
I
side,
think that's the way
you're
you
not
do it.
going to get. No, you're never going to get RICO on this, and part of that is because most of how you nail people on RICO stuff is financials. There are so few financials here that aren't handled by 501c3s that it's breathtaking, right?
So
that entire side of them is cloaked, and they are protected from it. Like I'm telling you right now.
If you look at how Rudy Giuliani went after the New York crime families in the 80s, he didn't use, it was all kind of like criminal conspiracy type thing. Like, this guy committed this murder, he's a part of this family, these people are, this guy had nothing to do with this murder, but because they are associated with each other, I could put this guy in jail because I proved that this guy is part of the larger criminal organization. You see what I'm saying?
Potentially, and maybe that's a tool we can look at for some cleanup stuff. But here's the major difference, and the thing that makes it A, not workable in my opinion to start this way, and B, not workable to look, man, conspiring with an enemy nation against the United States to attempt to violently overthrow it, that has never been protected by the Constitution. Nowhere. In fact, that is treason. That is literal treason. That is the only crime that the Constitution has a specified punishment for, and the punishment is death.
Yeah,
we know these people have been coordinating with China. We absolutely know it. We have tracked the money coming over. We have tracked the equipment coming over. We've tracked the gear coming over.
I think all that's happening, Watcher. I've never seen any concrete evidence of it. You know what I mean? I mean, I would love to go down that path with you, but if there is no kind of smoking gun that connects the MSS to
how does that path get explored?
I mean, it's
investigating it with resources.
Like I said, it's all complex. No matter what path you go down, right? In order to keep it constitutional, you have to develop the evidence, and that is a long-term thing. And I going back to this. Hold on a second. Where is this? This is the reason why weak Republicans are essentially the reason why we don't have this. Not because of anything the Democrats are doing right now. PSJ Helicopter Tours. Sorry, Scott. Corrupt elements of the federal government cannot foist their Gestapo methods against the right and not be subjected to a boomerang. Eye for an eye. The system. See, what you're talking about is going after corrupt elements of the federal government. That's a different story, right?
No, he's saying using the same tools and pathways that those corrupt elements of the federal government used to go after right-wing people. I think the interesting thing is, you don't even have to use all those tools right at this point. Well, but look, he's got a point here. They labeled parents as potential domestic terror threats simply for coming to PTA meetings and expressing a difference of opinion. I'm sorry. I no longer care very much about what the supposed paper shield is going to protect us from, because it hasn't. It already has not protected us from it.
How many parents from Loudoun County who just did the voicing their opinions? How many of them are in the federal lockup right now? I don't know the answer. I think the answer is probably zero.
I think that if we continued on the path we were on, it would have been a significant percentage.
But that's just it. We're not on that path anymore. We're on a different path, right? And so we have to decide what that new path is. Is that, hey, we've got 4 years to do all the unconstitutional stuff that they did to us for the last 4 years, and then we'll stop it by the end of our 4 years? I mean, I don't know if that's the path you want to go down, because ultimately corruption is corruption, right?
You think if we turn it back over now, anything is going to stop them from just doing it again?
Well, like, this is the kind of thing, like, there are enough laws in the books.
No, the answer to that is no, Scott.
You just need to enforce the laws that are on the books, right? Like I said, there are tools in the federal statutes that are non-constitutional. They may be like you may say that RICO is unconstitutional, right? There are a lot of people that argue that, but RICO is 40 years old. Nobody is I don't know anybody in the Freedom Caucus that's having huge debates on getting rid of statutes that allow you to do things like RICO. I mean, hell, we still have the fucking, the Patriot Act shit out there. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Patriot Act, but that's a law that was passed, right? If it becomes unconstitutional at some point in the future, great. But right now, it's not unconstitutional, or it's still in the book. So you just use that law, right? Let's see. You don't violate the Constitution and hide behind it as a shield, scorched earth. Yeah, listen, guys. I totally understand the argument, and emotionally, I want to do the same thing too. I'm just worried about the slippery slope that ends up throwing the whole system out of.
We're at the bottom of the slippery slope. We are on a slight hill above a precipice at the bottom of the slippery slope. We've got a very slight flat plane. We're still got a lot of momentum, and we're definitely going to end up rolling over that edge, but we are right now on a very slight flat plane, and I fear that you are overestimating the value of that flat plane.
Here's what I want. Pinochet, I want you to say as clearly as you can in the chat what you think we should do.
No, I don't want to get saddled with saying I want the same thing as Pinochet's helicopter tours per se.
No, but I mean, here's my point, right? Like, if you tell me that the answer is going full Pinochet, no offense, Pinochet's helicopter, but Pinochet literally said, "Okay, you guys are all bad guys, so I'm going to kill you all." Right? Oh shit! I got only 20% of you were bad guys, or only 80% of you were bad guys, right? Like, I still believe in, like, okay, so maybe this makes me a little bit of a boomer, right? But I still believe the whole kind of like better one guilty man goes free than 9 innocent men, don't go to jail, right? Like, I am not weeping because we don't haul them all in. I just don't. The thing that pisses me off, we're not hauling any of them in. Now has started to change. We started to see some federal charges, 20-year type charges coming down against some of these, like for instance, the ambush, the direct fire ambush that happened on the ICE officers or Border Patrol officers down. Was it Texas? Was that where that was at?
So we're still seeing minor action against the foot soldiers, and no
right.
one else.
Like the thing that's frustrating to me is they throw explosive devices, i.e., firecrackers or fireworks. The mortar shells and things like that. They throw those at them, and nobody gets arrested. If I'm in charge of those people, I kettle the entire group. And I basically, okay, I'm going to charge everybody in the group with 20 years because it was all, attempted murder or something like that. And eventually somebody's going to crack and say, that's the guy who threw it. I didn't do it. That guy did it. And that's how they broke the mob. If mobsters will crack, fucking Antifa will crack. I guarantee it.
My point is the same point I've been trying to make for many years. And that is that our entire political system, every bit of it, was built by the founders with an understanding that the way you restrained one side from doing a bad action that would lead to very poor outcomes from everyone was the understanding that the other side would use that as a stick to hit you with. And guess how that system stops being effective? When the other side stops hitting you with the stick.
For those who say that we've gone over the slippery slope, that's not true. We have not gone over the slippery slope. I mean, if you look in Americans' past, we're way further down the slippery slope at various points in America's history than we are right now. We have moderated the Constitution was almost fucking ignored 100 years ago. I mean, look at what happened during the, just because of the economic problem in the 1930s. I mean. Anyway, point is that I think there are a lot of tools out there that the current government is not using that it could use. It doesn't need to go scorched earth yet. But I do think we need to go scorched earth against the political enemies, i.e. the Hillary Clintons and the Barack Obamas and people like that. I think the right answer is federal charges against all those people.
Yeah,
did you hold them to account?
Did you hear how I only saw that I was suiting up in a poison suit to go spray a bunch of weeds when I saw that apparently they've been indicted by the grand jury, or have they been indicted, or has it just been sent to a grand jury?
My understanding is it's been sent to a grand jury. Let's see.
Well, that'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
Let's see what it says here on. Let's see. DOJ opening Russiagate grand jury probe. The reporter, let's say this is talking about, actually, I can share this with you. This is NBC talking about it. This is a Western Lensman sharing an NBC.
Got it. My question here is what chat, how do you think this will go while Scott's reading this?
Let's see. I'll read this first, and then we'll listen to let's listen. No, I'll read it first. Let's see. This is Western Lensman, new NBC news segments on DOJ opening Russiagate grand jury probe. The reporter appraises the viewer that Russiagate is a distraction. Okay, this is talk about information warfare, right? All Gabbard's claims are unsubstantiated. Not true. Reemphasizes there's zero evidence to back up claims. It's all politically motivated. Trump wants to attack his political foes. That's true. I think that's true because they actually attacked him. They didn't just kind of harass him. They attacked him. That's the entire report. So let's listen to this. This is the same media that said that Russiagate was absolutely true, and it has been completely proven to be a hoax.
A couple of weeks ago, Hallie, when really the headlines were dominated by the Jeffrey Epstein controversy, and then the president was sort of trying to change the topic very obviously, and in many different venues, was trying to bring up these unsubstantiated claims about the role he argues former President Obama had in the 2016 election and trying to suppress some information that he says would have been damaging if it had come to light. And so then you have the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, come to the White House briefing room, come to the podium and try to share some of this alleged new evidence. Well, now you have the Attorney General saying that they're going to try to take that information, which, remember, they had announced a strike force to look into what they call this new evidence and try to evaluate it to see if there could be any potential criminal indictments that they would follow. And the thing that matters here is that this is basically a grand jury investigation that's being launched, but that will happen in secret. This is behind closed doors, and it's completely unclear whether it will yield anything new. It's unclear that we will ever learn anything new about it because it could be under seal, but it really does bear repeating. This is looking into something for which there is no evidence to back.
Yeah, whatever.
So I think this is really funny that they're going this way. And the interesting thing is that Durham, this is kind of a fun fact. Durham never even convened a grand jury in order to force Obama officials to testify under oath about like the whole Russiagate thing. So it's like, at least we're going to get people's testimony under oath that, and let's be honest, I think the if they can find a low-ranking guy who basically has done just enough to get 5 years in prison or 10 years in prison or something like that. And remember, there's no parole in federal prison. So like if you get 10 years, you're going to do most of that time. I think I
don't see anything happening.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, two weeks ago, Gabbard came out with this. Now, some people say, "Oh, this is a distraction because of other stuff," and the Trump administration wants to get something else going to kind of take the. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with
fair.
that. They want to win, right? And so, and I think they've got enough evidence on this to probably get at least some indictments, right? Because let's be honest, an indictment that maybe doesn't get a conviction, that's still kind of a big win. And, that was always the thing. The mob guys used to say, indicted, but never convicted.
Yeah. That also basically makes them even. No, they'd have to be convicted, but not sentenced, I suppose.
Well, remember, Trump was never convicted of a federal crime. He lost in civil court. He was never convicted of a federal crime.
I am seeing something that is unconfirmed, but is related to what we're talking about. So I'm putting it up because.
By the way, tell that to Comey's daughter. What is this saying?
Speaking of Mueller. Update.
Former special counsel Robert Mueller has been subpoenaed, found in a memory care home. He investigated Trump for Russia hoax. Imagine that. He probably won't be able to answer questions. Well, I mean, we lost our. I mean, some of these guys are so fucking old that literally right after it's all happened, and they're completely out of the game.
Done on purpose, man. I'm sorry, but I cannot help but feel that part of how you slam the lid home and lock it on that pressure cooker that is the United States political system at the moment is to deny justice by letting these people slip away into death.
Hey, Jim, I see you in the chat there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, hop on, man.
I just sent you a DM. Yeah, he says the grand jury is Southern District of Florida. There will be convictions. Yeah, so that's one of those kind of things that it's all about where your jury's at, right? By the way,
well, by which we mean it's anywhere but DC.
Jim has a fine little growing YouTube channel.
Yeah, you guys need to check it out.
I have sent him the link, so if he wants to come on, he can join us, and we can boost his channel a little bit, and you guys can hear a member of the chat who started his own channel and hear what he has to say. All
right. Wait, I have a 4th odds and ends to slip in real quick. Oh boy, breaking.
What is this?
Trump to impose an additional 5% tariff on goods from India per Zero Hedge.
India's fucking it up by the numbers, man. I don't know what the fuck India's thinking.
Oh,
here's the thing. Russia's been a good ally to India for a long time. And so I think they're just kind of, well, until it's too expensive to be Russia's ally, we're going to continue to be Russia's allies.
Yeah. In case anybody's curious what that's about, almost definitely that's about Indian refineries once again turning back on refinement of Russian oil.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the Al-Shabaab and Somalia stuff.
Oof.
I just saw that. Yeah. All right. Shall we go on to our third odds and ends? That went down a path I was not expecting, but that's fun, Hey, let me just say, bottom line, guys, I'm not looking for a path that takes us to civil war. I do not want that. I have seen, what you had in Iraq was essentially a civil war, and we were stuck in the middle of it. And I've seen what that looks like. And I'm not interested in seeing Iraq levels of violence visited upon any part of the United States for any reason. I mean, now we can all say, oh, well, sometimes you got to fight. Well, yeah, sometimes you got to fight. But if you can avoid it, let's avoid it, right?
Oh, well, I agree with you. And I suppose as long as we're here, I should give my stand on that too. I agree with you. I hope we can avoid it. I just have come to believe over time that these things, like there are some wars that humans fully do influence and we can stop. And there are other things where we go to war and it's some sort of inbuilt societal thing that happens at certain stages of a society. And I just fear that we have reached an inevitable inflection point. And I don't mean that like civil war is inevitable. I mean, I feel that the pressures in our society have built in such a way that it's going to cause violence.
I don't agree with that, and I'll just leave it at that because we could literally argue that for the remainder of the show.
Agreed.
All right. Here we go. Next story is Italian police arrest 13 in nationwide crackdown on Chinese mafia groups. I mean, who saw this headline coming? I mean, this. I love these kind of headlines because it's got all kinds of stuff. You got a European, you got crime, you got mafia, you got Chinese. If you got Chinese mafia, you got the Chinese MSS as well. What's not to love? Italian police arrest 13 people in a nationwide sweep against Chinese organized crime groups, striking what authorities call a double blow to criminal networks accusing drug trafficking, labor and sex exploitation, and money laundering. So if you remember early on in COVID, you basically had like the first COVID cases in Europe popped up in Italy because Italy has some direct ties with Chinese manufacturing, right? And you have people going back and forth on the regular. And so that exposed them to COVID early on. And so let's just say that it doesn't surprise me that the Chinese mafia has gotten their hooks into Italy. Multiple coordinated operations conducted across a total of 25 provinces, including Milan, Rome, Florence, Prato, and Catania, targeting Chinese clans operating with mafia-style intimidation and territorial control, according to a statement from the Interior Ministry and remarks by the anti-organized crime police official Andrea Ovelis. On one front, the state police carried out a high-impact action in 24 Italian provinces targeting entrenched Chinese criminal groups engaged in illegal trafficking, exploitation of prostitution, and labor, producing counterfeiting, drug dealing, and international money laundering. So they were doing it all. I mean, basically, they were just doing your your normal organized crime kind of stuff. Hundreds of commercial businesses and vehicles were inspected, with more than 1,900 potential suspects identified. Along with arrests, police seized 550 grams, about 5,500 doses of crystal meth, as well as weapons and cash. Another 31 people were reported to judicial authorities, but not taken into custody. Another operation led by the Guardia de Finanzia dismantled a $3.9 billion tax fraud ring, seizing $858 million, closing 266 shell companies, and freezing 400 bank accounts across the regions of March, Lombardy, Piedmont, and said the Interior Ministry. These coordinated actions show Chinese mafia activities is not just a local issue, but a transnational criminal. I mean, it's kind of in the name, right? Chinese mafia. You come to me on this day, the day of my daughter's wedding, and stick your egg roll into my business. That's right. This rice is like my family. Are you disrespecting my rice?
Oh man.
Do you remember that movie Better Tomorrow?
No.
The John Woo movie from Chinese mafia like action movies from those Hong Kong ones from the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
Those were the best. The Killer, Hard Boiled, Better Tomorrow, Streets on Fire.
That has some guys I recognize in it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah, they're all of those are good. Chow Yun-fat, he was the big, star there. International reporting has also highlighted Chinese organized crimes reach beyond Europe. A joint investigation by ProPublica, The Frontier in 2024 described links between Chinese diplomats, organized crime figures in the United States, while other studies have traced the role of Chinese triads in supplying Mexican cartels with precursor chemicals for fentanyl. And guess who has their fingers in all of it back in Beijing?
Oh, it's CCP.
That's exactly right.
This is done by Central Committee.
Jay Clark, of course, goes to Lethal Weapon. Anytime I think of the triads come up, I think of Lethal Weapon 4. Yeah. Yeah, who was it? That was what was that guy who was the big bad guy in that movie?
I can't remember. I just gotta say that. So I don't actually have a model for how this works. Like, I don't understand if the gangs are just basically another semi-sanctioned part of the government where they act like, say, an economic version of the Japanese maritime, of the Chinese civilian maritime, whatever they call it.
Yeah, I don't think it's that direct, right? I mean, like, literally the maritime militia is literally a funded branch of the Chinese government, right? It's just very, very ad hoc. Whereas the triads are a kind of, I guess you could call them a non-governmental, terror organization. That would be the kind of way to align them. But they may skimming off of their revenue may provide money and corruption.
Right, but some of it is like definitely there is some.
But see, the MSS absolutely has their fingers into this. For the first time, we have Jim Satala joining.
Not the first
Jim,
time.
How you doing? Is this it's second time, right? Was it like almost over a year ago, right?
Yeah, something like that. Like a year ago, I was on.
Yeah. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good.
Hey man, I just want to say congratulations on your YouTube channel. It's growing steadily. I've noticed.
Yeah, I've been every week I add maybe about 10, 15 subs. So
yeah, that's all you can do, man. And yeah, ultimately we don't do this because we're trying to like become famous or anything. We just do it because it's like we have all these fucking thoughts in our head, and if we don't get them out, because Lord knows
you go crazy.
Our wives won't listen to us anymore.
Yeah, I mean, people got sick of me just screaming at the TV, so now I scream at the microphone.
Right, I'm with you there. Yeah, you want to like we can back up a little bit, but do you want to kind of weigh in on any of what we were just talking about?
Yeah, basically, like nothing happens. I've noticed in the second Trump term that nothing really happens by accident. There seems like there actually is a plan. You know, there was a big announcement that the nomination of the guy whose name just happens to be Cajones, the Southern District.
Yeah.
Cajones, but just like from Heartbreak Ridge, we call him Cajones.
Yeah.
That is the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. On the very day that he was confirmed by the Senate is when Bondi announced that she sent a letter to a U.S. Attorney to form this grand jury. So it's not coincidence.
Well, here's the thing. One of the things that I had heard that it's like we all want to get very, I guess, frustrated at Bondi and Kash Patel and all these kind of guys, right? And I think they do have some kind of culpability in all this, but ultimately, I think the thing that we have to remember is that none of these prosecutors, these political appointees to the Justice Department, are getting nominated. You know what I mean? Like, well, they've been nominated, but they're not getting confirmed.
Right. There's a major problem. There's a holdup. It's not just the Democrats that are holding up the people, too. It's also the Republicans.
It's Republicans, exactly. Well, like Thune won't let them go into recess.
Thune won't let them in. Grassley just announced that he's put a hold on a bunch of nominees for the Treasury Department because they're mad about subsidies for. He's mad about subsidies for ethanol, and the Treasury because the Treasury Department's going to start pulling back the grants and subsidies for alternative fuels.
Yeah.
So he's mad about that. And then you got Murkowski and Collins. Like, I don't know if you saw it was Murkowski and Collins were sitting right behind Thune when he was making the announcement about the recess, going to the pro forma sessions in the Senate.
Yeah.
And both of them were like talking and shaking their head and everything. Like, yeah, that's right. We're in control. We're running stuff.
I tell you what, man, we've got a lot of work to do in the Republican Party. We have got to. We've got to do something to get these people.
One minor bit of good news that I saw was that it seems like maybe Elon Musk is coming back around because of the stuff that happened with Big Balls.
Yeah.
So he donated a bunch of money to some conservative causes again. So
what do you think's behind that?
I don't. Really. I don't know. Like he wants things to happen faster. He's very, he's autistic and he wants things. He's like, no, this is what should be happening. We know how to fix it, but he's not used to the way government works. So he wants to change. But the main thing that what really needs to happen would solve like 90% of our problems in this country would be to take the cap off the number of people in the House. He would get rid of gerrymandering. He would get rid of these districts and all the weird stuff. If you brought it to be like, because originally it was 30,000 or 35,000, I think was the number of constituents per congressional district. And that was that way all the way until in 1910, I think 1915 when they did the,
Here's the problem with that. Like I was actually looking into this whole gerrymandering issue. And the irony is that if you were to do anything that basically unwinds the gerrymandering, which let's be honest, unless you're just in the weeds on politics, you're like, oh well, gerrymandering's terrible, right? This is just stupid. We shouldn't be doing this, right? Well, when you start to really dial down into it, especially as a Republican, right, looking at red versus blue House seats and whatnot, if you were to unwind all the gerrymandering and do and put any scheme that basically gets rid of gerrymandering, we end up losing net loss on seats in almost everything that I've seen.
Not if you did it the actual way where you reduce the number of people. But
here's the problem with that. Then you end up, like adding all these urban seats. You don't add as many rural seats if you do that.
You would end up picking up seats though. If instead of it being 700,000 people per congressman, because in actuality, then you have we have a participation rate of around 45 to 50% usually. So out of that 700,000, only 300,000 or so are voting.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to get, you would open up if you dropped it to say 100,000, so basically if you 7x the number of people in Congress to like say 2,000 congressmen, you would have way more congressmen. You would have a wider range of congressmen. You would have libertarian congressmen. You would have socialists. You would have communist congressmen, obviously, because some would be able to win in some districts. And
how would you make that work, though? I mean, where do you put those?
It was the way it was intended to work. The Congress is supposed to, House of Representatives is supposed to represent the people. You should be able to, any one of us should be able to pick up the phone and talk to our congressman. That's what they were supposed to be.
Yeah,
it's
man,
not supposed to.
I understand that. I just don't know if I think that that's doable.
They would have to, like obviously they would have to figure out a way that they could vote without, like to have like offices where they would be voting from offices as opposed to being on the floor. They would only go to the floor to make speeches and do stuff because you couldn't have 2,000. My grandson just walked in.
Hey, buddy.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, no, you're good. But I mean, what do you think, Watcher? I mean, because the other thing that I've seen is that they're talking about changing the rules in the Senate to make things a little more to kind of unburden the logjam.
Well, the Senate. The Senate can't change. The Senate is supposed to be the representation for the states. That's why there's two senators only and stuff. I mean, they can't add more senators because then you have two.
The problem in the Senate are the rules, right? It's like they've got all these wonky rules that they've kind of saddled themselves with, right? Like they could probably get rid of the filibuster if they wanted to, and that would get rid of the need to have 60 votes on everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in reality, the filibuster has saved us from a lot of bad things that would have happened.
Right.
It is. It stops us from getting things we want, but it also keeps us from having some really bad stuff. I mean, I don't know. You should be there should be a way, like there should be some other process or some other thing, like if it's vote, like if people, there should be a way to bypass the filibuster.
Right. By the way we, I think, what was it? The 14th? What's the amendment where they changed?
I thought it was the 22nd Amendment or 21st Amendment where they made it by the states.
Anyway,
I think
that was a terrible amendment. I think we should absolutely go back to this.
Yeah, I mean, it makes. I mean, why wouldn't it be chosen by the state legislature? I mean, you vote for the people in your state legislature. So if they pick the wrong senator, and that would solve a lot of problems. 17th Amendment. I'm not a lawyer, but so I don't know. But as far as as far as what they do with picking people, like right now, if you have an issue with a senator that doesn't do what you want him to do, there's no way to get him out of office. They used to be able, when the state chose it, they could say you're fired, you're not the senator anymore, and put a new senator in there. So like the stuff like Murkowski's doing, if it was that way, they would be like, nope, you're not the senator anymore, get out of there.
What do you think about term limits?
Term limits would be great. The problem is, how do you decide what the term limits would be? Would it be like, because like the House, in reality, there would be another thing that would make it a lot easier. You wouldn't even have this issue, because if you had, say, 2,000 members of the House of Representatives, they wouldn't be making what they're making now. It would be a part-time job. They would still have their normal job. They would only make 40, 50 grand a year for being a congressman, because that's how it should be. It shouldn't be this career where they have this huge staff and everything. They're basically there to represent. They're supposed to be there to represent their people in their district, and the district should be small. It should be 50,000 people, 100,000 people. That's it. Yeah,
I think term limits is something that I kind of got onto back in the 90s. I think it was Rush Limbaugh or somebody like that was talking about term limits back in the 90s, and I've also seen some pretty compelling arguments about why term limits is not a good idea. That being said, I think on the net, I'm pro term limits.
Yeah, it would have to be some kind of limit, like, because a lot of people go from the House to the Senate, so be some kind of like 2 terms in the Senate max, because that's 12 years, or like 5 terms in the House. I don't know.
I think you could do like something where you could, if you are successful, you could make a career in Washington. It's just ultimately you would have to keep winning. If you don't win, then you wouldn't automatically get that.
But I mean, like I said, I think a lot of these problems would actually solve themselves if you increase the number of congressmen, the people in Congress, because there would be way too many people to get bought off. You would actually probably increase participation by the voting populace because it would be easier to actually get a congressman that agrees with you and you can talk to. You know, it would probably end the two-party system as we know it, because you would have way more chances for other parties to pop up and get, 5, 6, 8, 10 House seats.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, Double Mag. Here's the deal. Wilson was literally the worst president ever. And anything that he did needs to be eliminated. Let's be honest.
Plus, we're going to have to see what happens anyway with the Supreme Court looking at the racial districting. If they say that you can't use race as a factor to do districting, which is what the 14th Amendment and 15th Amendment say, and you're not supposed to be using race at all when it comes to anything with. So we'll see how that pans out, and then there's some other stuff, like they're going to have to make a decision about the Fed, whether or not the Fed is actually legitimate and constitutional, because what branch of government is the Fed?
Well, supposedly they're going to pull the trigger on the birthright citizenship thing here in the next couple weeks, and then that'll go immediately to the Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court will basically find that people people here illegally or on a temporary visa are not under the subject.
They're not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. I mean, if they're going to look at the congressional record, they're going to look at what the people were talking about when they debated it. And they're going to say, they said it didn't apply to foreigners and it didn't apply to, temporary visitors and all that stuff. So it doesn't apply. Like, we have a congresswoman who said that she's a Guatemalan first.
Yeah.
And then an American.
I couldn't. Yeah. I commented on that's either sedition or if she's naturalized.
This is what happened. And she's technically not a U.S. citizen, in my opinion, because she said her mother was pregnant when her mother crossed the Rio Grande and gave birth to her.
Yeah.
So she is the definition of an anchor baby.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. We don't have a tactical wisdom spot today. Watcher, you want to focus on anything tactical wisdom? You want to speak for our friend Joe? Otherwise, I'm just going to say, go to class, get some training, buy Joe's books. If you don't have the full tactical wisdom series, it's such a great kind of really handy form factor, I think, and it allows you to kind of focus on various things. And then let's be honest, it gives you a little church in between great advice in there. So
they're fantastic, and go get some t-shirts as well. Miss Allie and the quote unquote sweatshop kids would very much appreciate your order. The joke here is that every time you order one of those shirts, Joe jokes that it's made by child labor, even though there are no children at Camp Ponderosa.
I mean, there should be child labor there. I would be okay with that. All right, and let me deliver you your daily. Where is it? Your daily brush beater ad. Here we go. All right. Let's see. Today we're breaking down the latest Russian-Ukraine escalation, the web of smaller wars igniting across the globe, from trench warfare to scattered conflicts. The world's a tinderbox, and you need to see through the chaos. That's where our sponsor, Brush Beater Store, led by Matt, a.k.a. NC Scout, steps up with battle-ready Kyber optics to keep you locked in. When darkness hides threats, the Kyber Optics PDS-14 monocle delivers ruggedized military mil-spec performance at a fraction of the cost of premium brands. By the way, he just posted that today. I thought it was pretty fucking awesome. The PDS-14s. I think it's is it at the top of that page right there? No.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm looking for it.
Anyway, If you go to night vision, it's under night vision on the first page, I think. Let's see. The PDS 14 monocle delivers rugged mil-spec performance at a fraction of the cost of premium brands. Built with premium Japanese glass, backed by a lifetime "you break it, we replace it" warranty. This Gen 2 Plus white phosphor unit is perfect for urban ops or remote skirmishes, offering crystal clear night vision for handheld or helmet use. Pair with the Skull Crusher head mount for lightweight helmet-free missions. Need a versatile sight? Kyber Optics MDO mil dot optic, that's what MDO stands for, offers a close emitter red dot with shake awake and a 5,000 hour battery life, perfect for pistols or rifles in high stakes scenarios. Test these optics at Brushbeater's Yanceyville, North Carolina showroom with a dark room to experience the PVS 14's clarity. Shop now at brushbeater.store/collection/night vision or brushbeater.store/collection/optics. Use code CFC10 for 5% off optics, night vision, radios, training courses. Orders over $100, ship for free. Huge thanks to Matt at Brushbeater Store for backing the Counts on Future Conflict. Visit brushbeater.store, enter CFC10, and see through the fog of war. All right, let's get back to the show. All right. So, guys, we haven't talked about like Russia, Ukraine in a bit, where we do like a full like theater-wide update, and so that's what we're going to do today. So let's kind of I've got a little summary here that we can draw on that I'm going to read. No, so watcher, here's what while I do the summary, feel free to just kind of like find videos and pictures and whatnot of Russian stuff. You know, clearly we all need a constant stream of FPV drone.
Did you guys see the story a week ago that they were floating about that they were going to replace Zelensky?
Yeah. I'll believe it when I see it.
That's why I didn't know, because it was like weird how it went out there and then all of a sudden it just went away. And I think it had something to do with with whatever they were doing, where they fired a bunch of people from the anti-corruption stuff, and so they were basically pushing on them.
I'll be honest with you. I think there is a movement inside of Europe where they're seeing the Zelensky corruption, and they're like, "This is stupid. What are we doing here?" And they're like, "Well, maybe we could just replace Zelensky." You know, it's time's up anyway. So,
yeah.
All right. So, Russian President Vladimir Putin insists on controlling all of Luhansk, Donetsk, and Zaporizhia and Kherson oblasts before agreeing to a peace, showing no willingness to compromise. You know, for what it is, hoping Ukraine achieve battlefield success is critical to altering Putin's stance. So the problem is they're not able to stop, at least from everything I've seen. Let's look at Russian territorial gains. Approximately 19% of Ukraine's territory, including recent advances in the Donetsk, where they've gained 135 square miles in the past month, equivalent to half the size of New York State. In the week of July 22nd to 29th, Russia captured 105 square miles, including entry into Pokrovsk and control of Chasiv Yar, accelerating the push toward key hubs like Kostyantynivka. The summer offensive is ongoing, and the Russian troops are advancing at an accelerated pace in eastern Ukraine, capitalizing on superior manpower and resources, with incremental gains adding up strategic around Pokrovsk and Kupiansk, and risking encirclement of Ukrainian position. Now, both Pokrovsk and Kupiansk are kind of like the gateways to this part of the line. And if they lose these kind of corridors, they'll have to move back. Watch, you don't have a map you can show?
I was looking for video.
I'll give you a map.
Yeah,
hold on a second.
No, I can get a map.
Well, I've got the ISW map here. Hold on a second. Give me a second here, and I'll show you. I'll give you the maps. All right, I'm going to give you the link, and all the maps are on this link. And so you can kind of navigate the maps. And Russian and China moving on Antarctica. Great. Haven't you heard that the next frontier is the U.S., Russia, China push into the moon?
But did you hear the story that they're building a nuclear power plant on the moon?
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's what I hear. But that's always been the plan. The nuclear, they call them nuclear mushrooms because they've got these radiators that make them look like umbrellas or mushrooms, and the heat to dissipate the heat.
Mhm.
All right, let me get back to my. Let's see. One of the other key points that they seized was the high ground around Chaziyar, facilitating further encirclement efforts. Russia successfully tested and deployed the Oreshnik ballistic missile system in service as of August 1st, 2025. If you remember, the Oreshnik is the kind of the medium range version of the Satan missile, which has, I think, a seven warhead, like MIRVs. So that's something that could be used in a strategic way, and we've already seen it used with conventional warheads against Ukrainian targets. Let's see. Permanent Iskander missile deployments in Kaliningrad since 2018 continue to support their operations. And if you remember last month, NATO basically said, "Oh, we could seize Kaliningrad in like 12 hours." Like they're like, there's not even a speed bump to stop us from seizing Kaliningrad. So great, thank you, NATO generals, for trying to talk us into the fight. Economic resilience despite sanctions. Russia's economy shows stability with a 2024 budget deficit of only 1.7% of GDP, bolstered by seized Ukrainian resources worth trillions, including lithium deposits mined under Russian control since January of 2024. So looking at some of the geolocated events, so we'll go down from north to south. Watcher, we'll go down the maps. So let's start in the Sumy Oblast. That's the north end. So if you want to find that map. I think is that Kharkiv right there?
Sumy direction.
Yeah, there you go, Sumy. This is Sumy. All right. Russian forces continue advancing of Yanukovka area despite Ukrainian resistance, with reduced counterattacks noted, securing positions in Kondratovka and the Yanukovka sector. Now, if you look, north into this is where you've got. So if you see the red line here, you've got the Russia-Ukraine border. The red in the Kursk Oblast area, these are the areas that were previously taken by, this is considered Russian advances. So that means these are areas where Ukrainian forces held parts of Kursk. And then if you see all the red on the kind of south side of the borderline, that's all this new territory that's been seized in the Sumy Oblast, and very close, just to the south of where they've pushed into the Sumy Oblast is the city of Sumy. So this would be the kind of the crown jewel of this portion of the offensive operation. And this is one of the oblasts that Russia has said that they must occupy. All right. Let's go to the next section. Sorry. Kursk Oblast. That we were just looking at that. No major Ukrainian games confirmed. Troops diverted, but advances in the Donetsk Oblast prioritized. So going to Dnipropetrovsk Oblast south, Russian troops liberated the Yanavarskoye community on August 5th, forcing Ukrainian retreats from positions in the region. Now, here's the thing, right? Are the Ukrainians doing a good job? Yeah, I think they are. I think they're doing a pretty damn good job for what they've got. One of the stories we'll talk about in a minute kind of talks about their human capital that they're putting into the fight. But ultimately, every kind of local counterattack that they're successful on is essentially, a month later, it's clawed back by the Russians. So it's a net loss on the daily for Ukraine. Let's see. Looking at Zaporizhia Oblast, or let's see, Donetsk Oblast. Marginal advances north. Novo-Mikhailivka. That's northeast of Lyman and northeast of Seversk. The east and southeast of the Toretsk, based on geolocated footage from August 4th, claimed seizure of the Sichniv east, and the entire Tokarevsk axis is collapsing, with Russian seizing key streets, forests, and heights above Delivka. Yeah, all those places. You know where all those places are, don't you, Watcher? Essentially, what you got here is Pokrovsk, and this is the kind of the we've been talking about Pokrovsk since beginning of the year, and this has just steadily moved in, and it's slowly surrounding this. And if you can see all these rail lines that go through here, this is a major high-speed avenue of approach. So we shall, I'm sure we'll see that city fall probably by the end of the summer. Zaporizhia, Russian assaults near Urivka with ongoing pressure on Ukrainian lines amidst drone saturation. The Ukrainians, the one thing that Ukrainians seem to really do well is their drone actions. And they're making the Russians spend a lot of manpower and what's that?
Time and resources. Yeah,
exactly right. And but you can't win a war just with drones.
I think that's fair. No, this is the part of the fight we all called in the beginning, where it's a much larger opponent versus a much smaller opponent, where like the smaller opponent might have a chance in the first couple rounds, but as soon as the weight comes to bear, it becomes obvious that this was never really a fight. This was an inevitability.
Let's see. There was some footage that I wanted to see if I could find. It's Ukrainian footage, so I don't want people to think that we're all.
I've seen a few, but they were not ones that would probably go down well with YouTube.
No, this is all like direct fire kind of stuff, so you don't really see what's happening.
I saw an interesting one that was the inside of a Humvee.
Oh, you shooting the machine gun?
No, Humvee gets hit by a suicide drone.
I tell you what, you want to see some interesting footage, just go and just put in like Ukraine sniper in X, and you'll find some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, thermal optics should scare the shit out of you. That's all I'm going to say. All right. That's pretty much the end of my summary here. Let's jump into so this next kind of segment is talking about personnel. Zelensky says mercenaries from Asia and Africa, including Pakistan, are fighting for Russia. Vladimir Zelensky has accused Russia of deploying foreign mercenaries. Well, no shit. It's like you've got foreigners from all over the fucking world fighting for Ukraine. Why shouldn't Russia have foreigners fighting for them? This certainly isn't the first such accusation like this, but he's named some new unexpected countries unleashing new diplomatic tensions. He alleged that foreign forces fighting in his country are from China, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, and several African nations, citing what he said are eyewitness accounts from Ukrainian soldiers. He issued the allegation during battlefield visit to Volchansk sector, where the Ukrainian leader met with the commanders to discuss the current situation. Volchansk is a mere 3 miles from the Russian border and has recently been seen renewed intensive fighting since related to Russia's 2024 campaign focus on Kursk. So that's in that Sumy region. The soldiers at this front are recording the participation of mercenaries from China, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, and African countries. We will respond. Okay, I don't know how you're going to respond to any of those countries. While last month have seen China and North Korea accused of sending troops to help Russia, allegations against Pakistan is a first. Pakistan's government is responding quickly to the Monday remarks from Zelensky, blasting the idea that Pakistani troops fighting alongside Russia is baseless and unfounded. To date, Pakistan has not formally approached by the Ukrainian authorities, nor has verifiable evidence been presented to substantiate such a claim. That's the interesting thing, that they would fucking talk about this without any real proof. And if you've got proof, you would just present it because it would be damning.
Well, yeah. I'm sorry, but Ukraine's been doing this consistently, right?
Yeah. And they've been advertising it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've run out of surprise about the shamelessness.
Back in April, Ukraine published images and footage showing Chinese nationals in military custody. If Chinese government is allowing their citizens to fight on just because Chinese citizens are there, there's a billion of those fuckers. That doesn't mean that the Chinese government sent them there. I mean, as much as I don't like the Chinese government, you just can't sit there and let me just put it this way. If the Chinese government told Chinese people, go, feel free to go, you'd have 50,000 Chinese in trying to vie for these mercenary contracts.
Yep. Very true.
North Korea has also been involved. My understanding is the most recent draft of men from North Korea have come in two waves. One was specialist artillery and other engineer support, and then labor support in the rebuilding of the Kursk region. So they're actually doing road work and things like that. That's the kind of the biggest draft of manpower that I think Pyongyang has. But we shall see. And then, of course, meanwhile, the allegations of foreign employment of foreign fighters certainly goes both ways. And then we have a picture here of why Taiwanese are amongst Ukraine's foreign fighters. Iran, too, is involved in the conflict, but only through supplying drones and possible missiles. The Kremlin has even allowed an Iranian drone factory to be set up in Russian soil amidst deepening defense cooperation. Zelensky has frequently declared that there's a Russian-aligned Axis fighting in Ukraine. Yeah, look at this. Hey, Jim, look at this. You want to know more? U.S., UK in secret talks with Ukrainian officials to replace Zelensky, Russian intelligence claims.
I saw that story. It was like right after he fired or got rid of a bunch of the anti-corruption people.
Well, I tell you, as much as I'm not a big fan of Zelensky, this is most likely a product of Ukraine haters, and that's probably one of the reasons why it faded out of the spotlight so quickly, because there probably wasn't much to it. Let's see. So that was a story on where Russia's getting some of their manpower potentially, and the next story is on where Ukraine's getting some of its manpower. Trump learns Ukrainian military now enlisted elderly and the mentally handicapped. Let's play this video here first up, Watcher.
Thank you for calling me. Thank you, Mr. President. On Ukraine, President Zelensky just signed a law allowing for citizens age 60 and above to serve in the military. We've seen dozens of videos of young men being hauled into vans and dragged to the front lines against their will. And we've even seen videos of a young man with Down syndrome serving on the front line. When you campaigned, you said you wanted to see the people stop dying. A lot of people admired that statement. Now the people dying are elderly, mentally handicapped, and conscripts. So even if a ceasefire doesn't work out, why should Americans continue to fund a foreign military that's scraping the bottom of the barrel of its population like this?
Well, you have to understand very importantly, this is Biden's war. This is not my war. I'm here to get us out of it. It's a mess, and I'm here to get us out. I haven't heard that when you say about 60-year-old men and, et cetera. But this is Biden's war, and we're working very hard to get us out. I stopped 5 wars in the last 5 months, actually. And I'd like this to be the 6th, frankly. And that doesn't even include Iran with, obliterating their nuclear haul, because they would have had nuclear weapons within 2 months. But stopped a lot of wars. You just take a look at the ones just over the last 2 or 3 months. It's been amazing. This is the one I'm trying to stop. This is the one we're working hardest on. The other ones I stopped within a matter of days, almost every one of them, including India and Pakistan. And I could go over the whole list, but you know the list as well as I do. But this is the one we'd like to see. I haven't not heard that, but this is Biden's war. And it's a war that he got us into, or indirectly got us into. It should have never happened. It would have never happened.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's RT, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think that it's correct, because we've seen video evidence of soldiers with Down syndrome serving at the front. Yeah, I mean, you hate to see it, but I mean, it's happening. Yeah, I don't know if I want to play the videos, because it's pretty fucking exploitative. But I mean, you go to Zero Hedge, you can see the story. It's there. Jim, what's your kind of take on that?
I like people to at least.
Well, like Alpha Omega says in the chat, we did that with McNamara's morons.
Yeah,
and it was a real thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so that was the whole. If I remember correctly, that was what inspired Forrest Gump, right?
Right. Forrest Gump. Yeah.
And let's be honest, there's a difference between somebody with an 85 IQ and somebody with Down syndrome, right? I mean,
just look at how great Forrest Gump worked out. I mean, he became ping pong champion. He ended up being a billionaire, all about all the stock. He ended up, sleeping with the first woman to die of AIDS. I mean, he was you can't count him out. Well,
the irony is that sleep with the first one to die of AIDS. That's the first time it's true. I remember that, but I hadn't thought of it that way. The irony is that the military are the ones that invented the first IQ tests. They basically commissioned psychologists to develop, and it was following World War I think, to develop the first IQ tests. Because
there's a minimum standard for what is considered trainable.
Yeah, you just can't get it. It's just you can't get them to do anything if they or they don't understand enough to be able to follow things without complete total control. And you don't need that. Let's see. Even a ceasefire doesn't work out. Why should Americans continue to fund? So I wonder who this guy was with. I wonder if he's Zero Hedge, or if he's. I wonder who he's with.
I did put a couple videos in the private chat of some of the people being recruited by the Ukrainians.
Yeah. So feel free to grab that video, watcher. Yeah, there's the one right there.
Well, I mean,
and people are starting to fight back against these guys too.
Yeah, there's one with a guy that has a grenade in his hand telling him, "Get away from me."
Yeah, he's got a pistol in one hand, a grenade in the other. Yeah. Here's my question, right? Are these guys that they pull off the street, are they draft dodgers that just they finally catch them? Or is this press ganging? There's a military age guy, let's grab him.
Ganging. Yeah. It's press
well, I have not, to my satisfaction, I have not heard that. Yeah.
I haven't seen proof, nobody's gone through court for any of this or anything, but you hear stories online all the time.
Oh, sure. They grab the wrong guy, and when they find out it's the wrong guy, they just don't return him. They just keep it.
Well, no. I've heard stories where it's not the wrong guy. It was you were of the correct age groups and were seen out in public.
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, I've heard both stories, Watcher, so I just don't know what's the case. And let's be honest, if somebody's a draft dodger, then yeah, maybe, but even still, this has been going on for the whole fucking war.
Wasn't there stories about them trying to get other countries to return their people that fled?
Yeah.
Not stories, not just stories. There were active campaigns. They had, they had politicians in various other countries that they had paid off to start trying to make those. Oh,
Yeah, like they were trying to get Poland to send a bunch of people back, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it could be worse, I guess. We've got in the case of this, heaven forbid you support. Let's see. I have to remove that and add this. Okay, heaven forbid you support Russia as a European head of state. Moldova jails popular pro-Russian governor, outraging the Kremlin. Well, who cares about if they outrage the Kremlin? But ultimately, this sounds like heavy-handed, stuff to me. Just 2 weeks ago, Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service issued a statement accusing the West, under U.S. leadership, of turning Moldova into a military outpost aimed at confronting Russia, akin to what happened over the last several years in Ukraine. Moscow has also accused the West of long meddling in the Republic of Georgia with the same purpose in mind. The SVR's provocative statement, which came in mid-July, says Washington wants to use the country as cannon fodder in future hostilities, which it allegedly has been fast-tracked by Western policy decision makers. Now the tiny country with EU aspirations, having been granted candidate status in 2022, is front and center in regional headlines after a main opposition figure was arrested for alleged Russian ties related to corruption. Let's be honest, it could be true, but it probably is most likely not true. The Kremlin has accused Moldovan authorities of engaging in political persecution after a court sentenced the pro-Russia governor of Moldova's autonomous Gagauzia region to 7 years in prison on Tuesday. She was accused of channeling Russian funds to a banned political party. The government alleges that she transferred Russian money to the outlawed Shore Party between 2019 and 2022, paving the way for deeper Russian influence in Gagauzia, a southern Moldova region made primarily of Russian-speaking ethnic Turks. This is interesting. I mean, corruption is corruption and shouldn't be tolerated, but at the same time, it's very easy to hate somebody who is pro-Russia.
Have you noticed, though, that there's been this trend in all these countries that are supposedly, democratic and free, where they just get rid of parties they don't like, or they outlaw people from running? I mean, look at Brazil, Hungary, not Romania, France with Marine Le Pen, what they tried to do to Trump here.
Yeah, they vacate the election results in Romania and Poland as well. Yeah, 100%.
It kind of seems like maybe the people claiming they're fighting for democracy are actually just fighting for power.
Yeah, I mean, Moldova is a kind of an interesting test case because it is kind of sandwiched right in the conflict zone there. And if you aren't aware, there's basically a very thin region called Transnistria along the eastern Moldovan border. And that is essentially a Russian-occupied enclave. And it's very interesting because it's very thin. And, how do you fly an airplane in there? Because Romania and Ukraine both deny Russian military access. But there's like a battalion or a brigade of Russian forces in that region. So, yeah, presence of Russian peacekeeping troop in Moldova's breakaway Transnistria region. Very interesting.
So Russia trying to establish another area like that, the one that's up by the Baltic, Leningrad?
Well, so it's a little more complex than that. Transnistria is controlled by basically. Let me. As for Transnistria, although it's a diverse ethnic demographics almost equally apportioned between Russians, Moldovans, Romanians, and Ukrainians, the Russian demographic slightly ekes out its counterparts with a plurality of 29% of Transnistrians belonging to the group. NATO wants to bring Moldova directly into its orbit and ultimately kick Russian troops out of the region. So it's kind of like a quasi-independent autonomous region with Russian occupation, but the Russians, hey, we're not in charge, we're just peacekeeping troops. There was a war. Transnistria fought a war, and I want to say that was in the late 90s, but I think it is. Yeah, Transnistria leads right to Odessa. Yeah, it's not far at all. Not far at all. And if they were to land forces at Odessa or on that coast, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see the Russian forces in Transnistria fighting, kind of into that region from the other way. So, very interesting. All right, moving on. Let's see. I got one. Oh yeah, there's one last story here. Let me share my screen. I think Watcher's on the phone. Breaking: Steve Witkoff leaving the Kremlin after a meeting with Putin for over 3 hours behind closed doors. He is heading to the American embassy. So I haven't heard anything new on this. Let's go over to Vicegrad and see if they've released any new information on this. There's the 25% tariffs on India. Yeah, I don't see anything more on this. Let me search.
I have to say Moscow looks nice this time of year.
Let's be honest. Most places in the world look great in the summer.
I don't see any tents on the street. I don't see any people passed out.
No, but weirdly, I do see a lot of fat old men. I thought that was supposed to be a U.S. thing. What's going on?
Well, they like their vodka.
I don't see any fat blue-haired women though.
Putin's special representative Kirill Dmitriev called Trump's special representative Witkoff's visit to Moscow successful. Yushakov, former Russian ambassador to the U.S., noted that a useful and constructive conversation took place, and that the meeting took 3 hours. Wow. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's a deal on the table that brings Russia, back to the table. I don't know. I think it would be great if they did. I think too many fucking people have died over this. I think ultimately Russia's going to keep what it holds, and it's not going to get any free land. I think it's basically going to be able to keep what they've taken in this whole deal.
Yeah, I'd like to see who'd stop them at this point.
PSJ's Helicopter Tours for $2. Obama was caught in the UK bunker perpetuating the Ukraine war. Why does the UK get a say in a war it started? Why doesn't Trump sell the UK and the EU out? Why negotiate with Five Eyes enemies? I think the reason why is that ultimately Trump wants to subvert the UK specifically. But I don't know if he was. Nice to see in the chat, Ron.
What they're trying for.
Fat blue-haired women. You're not looking for that. Alrighty. Let's see. We are an hour and 49 minutes. I don't know that we're going to get a chance to really dive into these two stories the way I want to in the next 10 minutes. So let's put those on hold and maybe hold one of those for odds and end on Friday.
I just put something in the private chat. I don't know if you've seen Tom Cotton trying to strip power from Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes, I saw that. And I talked about it.
You did? Okay.
Evidently this has been going on since she started dropping all the stuff about what was it Tulsi was dropping before the Russiagate stuff. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was anyway.
I don't know why Tom Cotton is doing this. It seems, does he have connections? I mean, these people are trying to make the connection that he's a huge recipient of money from AIPAC, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing too. I'm not a big fan of AIPAC. I am a fan of letting Israel act in its own. I just don't think that we need to subsidize Israel.
Yeah, and if they want to, we'll sell them. As far as I'm concerned, we'll sell them anything they want to buy. And that's kind of the thing where a lot of people don't understand, the money that we actually give to Israel is more of a discount on the weapons they buy than anything else. Like, those people don't pay, retail. They buy wholesale, so they want a discount.
Yeah. PSJ Helicopter Tours for $1. I don't think I read this, but this is over on Rumble. He says their culpability is they are preserving the establishment status quo. We need to destroy the status quo. Politicians, and another one from Pinochet. Politicians and Fed did these things knowing that they would never be punished. We need to break the cycle. I agree. We need to go after people who have broken the law. That's one of the big problems. I've never been a fan of going after ex-presidents. Though I think until some sort of detente is declared, I think you got to go after Obama. But
if they don't push back hard and do something, this is going to happen again, and again. They might get, if it wasn't Trump, if it was any other Republican politician that they tried to do this to, odds are the person would have been in jail, and everyone would have just eaten it up because they don't have the voice and the way to talk like Trump can to get it out there and defend himself.
Yeah. Yeah, Cotton is a neocon. Yeah, I think that's right. I think he's more of the kind of the Wolfowitz school of foreign policy. Have U.S. troops just arrived in the Baltics, and if so, what are your thoughts? My thoughts of the U.S. troops in the Baltics is I'm not a huge fan, but I understand it. Based on the current, unless we change something with our membership in NATO, ultimately it's not a problem. It's just not smart, I don't think, because that's more of a flexible deterrent option, right? Rolling troops close to exercising troops close to the Russian border.
Yeah, I'm more worried about what's going to happen with China. China's going to end up.
I'm with you there. It's
all the stuff about basically they would bring it like people don't realize Florida's citrus crop was almost completely wiped out by China. The blight came in and wiped out all our citrus crop. Basically, 90% of the citrus groves in Florida got wiped out over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And then the stuff that they were trying to do, they were bringing in the stuff into Michigan to try to get the wheat grain, wipe that out that they caught them and arrested the people. And it just keeps happening. They keep buying the land around all the bases. Someone's going to have to wake up and say, China is at war with us. We might not want to admit it, but they're at war with us. They're actively messing with us.
Yeah. China's been at war with us for a long time.
Yeah, no, it's been a while, but it's been since I think the 90s when they decided.
Yeah,
everything they've done it's been to the purpose to try to.
Well, in fairness, I think it's been a little different, right? Because the war that Hu Jintao and some of the other previous leaders of China wanted to wage was different than what Xi wants. Xi has his own idea, and it goes very much against the grain of the previous kind of leaderships. And it's definitely to our detriment. And it seems to be he's accelerationist as well. So,
did you see the stories that came out in the last 2 days about Tim Walz in China?
No, I haven't seen.
Oh yeah, the FBI was fully aware, and they had intercepts and everything that basically Tim Walz was, whatever, controlled by China or under the thumb of China, and they buried it.
Let's see. Oh yeah, now dozens of intelligence whistleblowers are coming forward. The world knew he was also a traitor compromised by the Chinese Communist Party. It's brutal.
Oh yeah.
Of the things that I'm surprised by, this is not one of them.
Well, that he took over 35 trips and brought students from his high school to China, and it was all paid for by the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
That should have been hello.
They do that kind of thing. They do these trips where they bring influencers and various people over, and they put them up in the nicest stuff, and they just want them to make videos about how
Well,
great
this is going
everything
back to the 90s when he was bringing students and all this stuff, and he brought party members to his school to address the students and everything. And he just in the last week said that China is the only country with the moral authority to solve the Israeli-Gaza conflict.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right, gentlemen, I think that's all we got for today. Watcher, you got any final thoughts?
Again, go to training. If you haven't already done so, sign up for the FTX that Joe's doing up there at Camp Ponderosa. Should be a fantastic time, but that's only if you sign up so that he knows that it's actually happening. Because if nobody signs up, but you guys just show up and expect to be able to pay on day of, nothing will be planned and no one will be ready. So, yeah, sign up for classes. Get going, guys.
Jim, what do you think? What do you looking towards the end of the week and into the weekend? You got anything that you're watching?
I'm man. I'm watching so much different stuff all the time. It's like a constant thing. Like every day I have like 20 to 30 stories.
Yeah, I was gonna say in your show you focus mostly on domestic stuff.
Mostly on domestic stuff. I mean, I don't speak enough foreign languages to actually I don't trust the reporting. I would want to actually be able to hear what they're saying myself and go, okay, this is what they mean.
Yeah,
and you just whenever you get the news talking about stuff, it's just hard.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, a lot of times the only reason why I trust anything is because there's a lot of local reporting now, and X really allows you to kind of peer into the kind of and then you can also get multiple kind of points of view, and then you can approximate what smells like the truth a lot of times.
I've been keeping a close eye on the Congo and stuff in Africa because of the deal that supposedly Trump made, and what that's going to cause is that if they're going to push China out.
I think that's pretty interesting. I get the feeling that it's likely to happen, but I mean, we'll see. If you guys haven't done it already, if somebody would do it here in the chat, one of the mods in the chat, if you would grab Jim's,
I could do
YouTube,
it real quick.
Yeah, throw the link in the chat, and make sure you click on that and go over subscribe. Pretty good stuff. Oddly enough, the times that I'm able to jump in your chat, I'm almost always when I'm at work on lunch, and because you're doing it in the middle of the night, and so
I start around 10, 11 o'clock Eastern time, and I go anywhere from 2 to 5 hours.
Yeah,
depending on whatever how I feel. If I start to get tired, I'm like, all right, I can't go. But sometimes I'm just going, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I've been going 5 hours. So, but I don't know. I try to do at least 5 nights a week, sometimes longer. I mean, it's been like a couple times I've done it every night, and it's just like keep going and going and going and more stuff. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's fun. I don't know. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is some kind of self-therapy to it as well,
Yeah.
And, what you do is harder, I think, than what I do. I have like somebody else almost always to talk to, and whereas you're just talking with the chat, which is, I think that's a pretty popular, but I think it's harder to do.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's easier to do it by yourself because you don't get sidetracked.
That's true. And you can talk about where the fuck you want. Cervix Hammer is giving you shit already. All right. Guys, that's all we got for today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notification.
When's Doorkickers supposed to ship out?
Talk to that man right there. I've done my part.
Okay.
That my part at this point is paying bills, and that's all. I'm the money guy at this point.
Where's Stan been?
He's busy, man.
He's busy?
He's doing international business and things. He's flying.
Yeah, every once in a while, I'll see a post of his on Twitter that I'm like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
He's still got it.
Yeah. All the guys have been, like really, really busy and doing stuff. And, it's like, and you know how it is. Like people will do something for maybe 6 months to a year. And then it's like, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do it anymore. That tends to be the case. I can't believe that I haven't like hit that point. I enjoy it. So, I don't ignore you, Darth Kitty. I'm just saying. All right. If you haven't done already, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Jim's channel. He's where are you at on subs?
I'm at 1260, I think now. Let's see. 12.
Did you need 1,000 to get monetized, right?
Yeah, like what happened was Joe Neerman, Good Logic, brought me on his show and was like, "What? How many subs you got?" And at the time I had like 600 subs. He's like, "No," and it was like instantly over 1,000. So I was like, "All right, that works."
That's what happened with us. Like I came on with Legal Mindset, and that was at the beginning of the Ukraine war, and so it was a kind of combination with the Ukraine war and doing basically I was doing weeklies with him, and
he's really blown up since he's gotten on the anime stuff. I mean, his channel has just launched into the stratosphere.
And what's that guy at nowadays? Let's see. Let's just look real quick.
He'll regularly have over 10,000 live viewers watching his streams now.
Let's see.
It's all that, all those South Korean K-pop people, I think.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but he's like at 340,000 subs. So, but he is a dedicated YouTuber. I'll be honest with you. I don't even look at my metrics anymore. I don't care. I just, because I don't consider myself a YouTuber. I'm just a guy who does this stuff.
Well, I got six subs from being on here, so that's good.
Look at that. See, I'm doing my part. Doing my part. Yeah, he's lost me on the anime stuff too. I don't get. It's not even anime stuff. It's the VTuber stuff. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I'm like, huh? Maybe it's because of my age. I'm like, I don't get it, but okay. It's good on you, Andrew. It's popular. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's
like,
not for me. It's not for me.
My
I can't
whole
even pretend to be interested in it.
My whole anime catalog consists of Robotech. So other than that, I'm like, what?
I mean, I can explain it in a fairly easy way, I suppose. In a future where 90% of the people on the internet are making their personality, like their persona, their identity, and end up getting burned on that for various different legal and potential scam and that kind of stuff reasons. A class of people popped up that wanted to interact in the same way, but did not want their personality, like their persona in real life, to be their thing after watching celebrities get attacked. And so they developed technologies that essentially allow them to do virtual presences. Like it's a real person piloting it all the time. It basically uses a camera to mirror what they're doing in real life, but it allows girls particularly, because they're the ones that have, there are guys have tried it, but it's a different
I thought you had some sort of like funny insight of this. You're just
it is what it is. No,
yeah,
it's like people are saying they don't understand it, but it's easy to understand. We're living in a
aren't the vast majority of those people,
and people get attacked on a regular basis because people think they have money or they're famous or for various different things. And so like this is the future we're leaning into. These are increasingly celebrities will be faceless.
Isn't most of like the conflict and stuff that Andrew covers though about that they're all owned by corporations or a company, and so like the person that's doing it doesn't actually own the name or the thing, and they can switch them out.
That's the whole thing within the Japanese system in this, because the Japanese tried to hook this into their idol system, which is all managed by corporations, and it's crazy dumb bullshit. But yeah, a lot of them are breaking off, and a lot of the ones that are breaking off are American because they're unwilling to do the things that Japanese culture requires you to do.
All right, guys. Anything else? I'm gonna appreciate you, Jim, for jumping in.
No problem.
Ways, chat. You guys were keeping it real, and that's the way I like you. If you haven't done it, please subscribe, like the channel. all the stuff. Share the information with your friends. Let them know that you're getting good stuff over here on the Council for Future Conflict. And as always, stay safe.